Alright, I've just finished playing Signalis on Steam, and it is without a doubt one of the best survival horror games I've played in recent time. When you just look at it, it is pretty much just Silent Hill in space, but there's so much more to it than that. I mean, it pulls inspiration. I'm doing finger quotes, you can't see. It pulls inspiration from Silent Hill very heavily in a lot of places. Not just Silent Hill 2 with, running around with a photograph looking for a girl, but also, and jumping in a lot of holes. But there's also an area near the midway point of the game called Nowhere, which is exactly the same as Nowhere in Silent Hill 1, where the layout is nonsensical. There's no map. You're completely lost half the time. The gameplay is just absolutely spot on. I love the gameplay so much. I'll get to that in a second. So, let's talk about the plot for a minute. And it is going to be a minute. Number one, I don't want to spoil anything. And number two, it is very, very vague. There's a lot to Signalis that is just very vague and interpretive for one reason or another. You start the game being woken up, you're an android, and you wake up on this crashed spaceship, and you make your way into the facility on the planet that you are on, and just find that everything has completely gone to shit. You really want to explore everything, read all the notes, check all the scenery, because there's so much little detailed and world building here that's really well done. The whole game centers around this robot, this android called a replicant, looking for her gestalt, which is like a human counterpart to the replicant. It's like a little android buddy that you have. And as the game progresses, you learn more about what the replicants are made from. What is the deal with the gestalts? What is happening? Why is everything all fleshy and oozy and broken? Oh, it's just so good. I really don't want to spoil the plot too much because it is very intriguing. And you can see inspiration from all sorts of places. You can see them from... the obvious one is Silent Hill. You can see inspiration from Dead Space. You can see inspiration from Ghost in the Shell and Akira. And the end of Evangelion has to be a massive inspiration for this as well. Gameplay-wise, you can choose two different gameplay styles. The first is a classic tank controls with turning left turns you physically left, turning right turns you physically right, and you can move forwards and backwards. And the other is a more modern one, which is you push the analog stick in a direction you want to go, and Elster does that. She does the thing. Isn't that crazy? If you're using a mouse and keyboard, you do get a little bit more camera control, which is nice. But I much prefer to use a controller for this. I will say that aiming is a bit difficult, especially when you're fighting more than one or two enemies. Elster will lock on to what she considers to be the closest enemy to the direction you are aiming. And that can often be behind the enemy that's currently right in front of your face. And that's really difficult. Enemy-wise, there's not much variety. There's the standard enemy that's got a knife. There's a bigger, taller enemy with a shield, and there are some enemies that pop out the floor, but they infinitely spawn which is annoying. The enemies also don't stay dead unless you burn them. So you do get a flare gun later on, which is cool because you just instantly burn them alive. Or you can set them on fire with flares after you knock them down. But if you don't do that and you are going back to an area quite frequently, they will get up again eventually. A little bit like the Crimson Heads from Resident Evil 1, but they're not super powered or anything. They just get back up and now they're back to normal. So there is an element of strategy when it comes to moving about in Signalis. I don't know how to pronounce this game. Is it Signalis? Signalis? I called it Signalis for a while, because I can't read apparently. But there's a certain level of strategy when it comes to going to and from places. You only have 6 item slots, so that's really down to 3 if you think about it, because you got 1 gun, 1 ammo, 1 health kit, and then you got 3 for miscellaneous items that you need to pick up. And there are a few places in the game where it requires you to take like 6 keys to a certain area. And so that is a bit tedious of you take 3 things, put them in, go back to the save room, get 3 more things, go back to where you need to go. The boss fights are a little bit hit or miss. There is a certain degree of strategy that you can do, but there really comes down to pop off a shot, run around for a bit until they open themselves up, and then shoot a few more times. Difficulty-wise, I would say that this is kind of perfectly balanced. I haven't seen a survival horror that has balanced its difficulty like this since the Resident Evil 2 remake. I always feel like the Resident Evil 2 remake was just down to a science with how well it balanced that difficulty. It always felt like you were just running out of ammo, you were just running out of health, but something pops up later on. Really, really well done. And it's similar with Signalis. I really need to look up how do you say this?
Signalis.
Signalis. Okay. Yes. Signalis. So it's the same in Signalis. It's you always feel like you are just on the brink of running out of ammo. You are just on the brink of running out of health. I did die maybe 2-3 times during my first blind playthrough. And a lot of that was because I got lost and I had to retrace my steps. And I ended up running out of ammo in a few places. Trying and getting hit a lot, trying to sneak around the enemies rather than fight them. Once you know what you're doing, you can do like a no damage run if you really wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it. It's hard. Really hard. But yeah, I would say that Signalis is really well balanced in terms of survival horror. In terms of a survival horror game, there's just enough difficulty to get through this. Graphics-wise, this is a really nice looking game. It is very minimalistic in terms of there's not a lot of screen space actually being used. You kind of boxed into this small view at all times, but there's a lot to take in and see, and they're going for that crunchy PlayStation 1 style graphics, which I just love. I'm so happy PlayStation 1 graphics are making a comeback. I was getting really sick and tired of every indie game being 8-bit or 16-bit sprites, but not really, because you can see like the Unity rotation thing going on. It's a retro throwback. No, it's pixel art mixed in with chiptune that wouldn't actually work on a real hardware. The cutscenes are kind of mixed between real-time 3D with some really nice animation and hand-drawn sort of... I don't know how to describe it. It's that anime look that's either not quite professional level but really well done DeviantArt style anime drawing, or the non-Japanese mangas. I think they've got, what they're called? Manhwa. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that it doesn't look like authentic Japanese anime to me, at least. But I'm a weeb. Let's talk about sound, because I love sound. It uses the Fmod Studio engine, which I'm happy about. Lots of cool things you can do with that. There's not a lot in terms of sound design. You've got your beeps and your boops and your... In terms of sound design, it is really well done. Really well done. The more synthesized sounds, like the title screen 3-note sound, is just... Oh, it's so unnerving. It's slightly off key. It's not quite in tune. It's so nice. And you get all these cool radio puzzles. You get a radio module and you get to tune the frequency. You can sometimes use it to kill enemies. It's really well nice. Really well nice. I can't fucking talk these days. I am so tired. But the sound effects really do fit the game very, very well. Hats off to whoever did the sound design, because that is some top-notch work there. Music as well it's not thumping and in your face and up your bum like Doom 2016, but it is very much fitting. It doesn't jump out at you. It doesn't sit too much in the background. It just really emphasizes the atmosphere of the game, and I really do enjoy whenever the music kicks in. The save room music as well is really nice. It's just a simple little piano thing, reminiscent of Resident Evil again, but not quite as... it doesn't fill the audio spectrum quite like the Resident Evil one does. Everything... So they both come together to be this sort of... Everything is kind of broken feeling. Everything is electronic and not quite working right, and the enemies scream when they spot you, and the thumping industrial banging starts up, and it really makes you panic. I would say this is really, really well done. Overall, I would say that this is one of the best survival horror games you can buy, and it is cheap. It is cheap. Just get it. Get it on sale. Get it full price. It doesn't matter. It's so good. It's so good. I don't have too much to say negative-wise about Signalis. Fucking hell, I did it again. I don't have too much to say negatively about Signalis. I would say that some of the puzzles are a little bit out there, little bit too vague. I would say that the times that you had to take 6 items to an area to advance the plot really could have done with having a save room a bit closer to reduce that tedium of going back. And I will admit that the story is not going to be for everyone. It is very vague. It is not conclusive. It is left wildly up to your own interpretation of what is going on. And some people don't like that. So if you prefer to have a solid plot where you know exactly what's going on and who's doing this and who's doing that, then I would not really recommend this for the story. Definitely get it for the gameplay, but maybe skip the cutscenes. I would say buy it. Just buy it. Enjoy it. Stop listening. Don't like, don't subscribe, don't click OK. Don't close the window and turn your computer off and go outside and touch grass. Don't do any of that stuff. Just buy Signalis on Switch or Steam and feel miserable with me. It isn't a happy story. It isn't a happy story.